Alabama, Roll On North America Tour, presented by Kenworth. Saturday, October 19th, Wells Fargo Arena. Special guest, Exile, Alabama, live. All your favorite songs from the greatest country band of all time. On sale now at HighVTix.com. Produced by Outback Presents.
Want to learn how to listen and watch Iowa Everywhere content? Here's how. We broadcast live across YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, where you can watch shows like Two Guys, Murph and Andy, and Legends and Listeners. Chat and leave comments to interact with the live shows. If you like listening to podcasts, search Iowa Everywhere on Apple or Spotify.
You can take our shows with you anywhere.
Like here in your car with your CarPlay app.
They just changed it.
It's pretty cool. Don't have CarPlay? Visit our friends at Ramsey Subaru and get a car that does.
And if you don't have a smartphone to listen to, it's time to get one. Visit one of 32 Cellular Advantage locations, unauthorized dealer of U.S. Cellular.
Nothing I love more than catching up on my favorite shows while grocery shopping.
Can't watch live? You can always come back to those same channels and watch on demand anytime.
Just search Iowa Everywhere and follow us on your favorite social media platform.
And really, what could be better than listening to
or watching?
Following Iowa Everywhere on social media.
It's awesome when things come together. There's a word for that, right?
Yeah, confluence.
Murph and Andy, proudly presented by Ramsey Subaru and BMW of Des Moines. Live and on demand across Iowa everywhere. From the Channel Seed Studios. This is Murph and Andy. Murph and Andy, connected by cellular advantage.
This is Murph and Andy on Iowa Everywhere. We are in the Channel Seed Studios, and we welcome you to another live broadcast. We are presented by Ramsey Subaru and BMW of Des Moines. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Murph. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Excited. We have a lot to talk about here, but I do want to throw out a little bit of a warning. The windows are being replaced here at the house. Yeah, this is what I woke up to. That is not somebody breaking into the house. That middle window at this point completely gone, and they've already replaced 6 windows. Haggerty Construction over here, and they're getting it done. They're getting down, but you might hear an occasional banging. They're not going to replace the windows here in my office today.
That's an inexpensive process, isn't it?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
We have put it off for so long because it's so expensive. And this is an old house. You've been here many times. We have windows everywhere in this house, but these are the original windows in a 100-year-old house. So I think our life's going to get better. I don't know that it's going to get better to justify the cost, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, it's just one of those things you have to do if you're going to live in an old place like that. And yeah, it is going to be a whole lot easier because, man, you probably have those windows that have like the weights inside the window frames and the rope.
Most of them don't open. Most of them were painted shut a few decades ago.
Yeah,
a few do open, but yeah, it's something that needed to be done. But if it gets too noisy here, we'll do something we do anyway that I haven't told anybody until now. But occasionally, Jenny and I sneak into the Iowa Everywhere studios in Ankeny, and we'll just like take a bottle of whiskey, sit on the couch, kind of throw like a rager. We've invited friends a few times, but we do pick up and then we leave. And so far, no one has said a word. So we're going to keep doing that because, it's a pretty nice space there.
Yeah, it is a really nice space. It's kind of a long way away from us. We would use it more.
It is a good place for a party. You can interact with us on YouTube. You can email Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com. And on X, it's Murph_Andy. It's all powered by the Cellular Advantage. So thank you to the Cellular Advantage. And just to show that new email and get people used to it, Andy, right now, we're going to give away 2 tickets for anyone who can use them to the Sunday 6 p.m. NHL game between the Utah Hockey Club and your Blues, 6 p.m. This is a real opportunity for a hockey fan. We'll give them to the first person to email Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com that would like 2 tickets to the Iowa Event Center game.
And you'll get to see me. I'm the in-arena host, so I'll be up on the Jumbotron for this game. So
welcome, AD.
I'll be there Sunday night.
I don't need to remind you guys that the last time the Blues did this and played in Des Moines, they won the Stanley Cup.
You did need to remind me. You're wrong. I did not remember
You don't remember that? Oh, my God.
Now that you say it, yes. But so are you going Sunday night? This is your team?
No, I'll be out of town.
Oh, okay.
I'll be out of town. You know that, yeah.
Never mind. We'll
I did
you know how it goes.
I did it once. It was fun. It was full. It was sold out the last time. That was the Blues and the Wild, so there was more interest in the Wild than the Utah Hockey Club.
Hockey Club.
It is still it's really a big deal for Des Moines, and it's very fun. And there were a lot of Blues fans that either they came out of the woodwork here in Central Iowa or they made a trip up from Missouri, but they showed up. There were a lot of Blues fans there, and I remember the kids were younger, and Louis, the Blues mascot, was there, and they were very excited about that. It was a good night.
Let's get the high or low since the last show, which was... Andy, you want to pick a high or low?
Well, I'll go with a low because the weekend went by like that. It was so fast. My father-in-law passed away during RVTV week, and he lives out in Pierre, South Dakota. That word is definitely Pierre, but they pronounce it Pierre.
That's pronounced Pierre.
In South Dakota, they say Pierre.
Pierre.
That's got to be the smallest state capital. It has like 25,000 people in it. Kind of an interesting town, but it's a long way away. So after the game on Friday night in Ankeny, the Football Friday primetime game, I got in the car and then drove, it's like 7 hours and 15 minutes to Pierre and just pump myself full of caffeine. Those Celsius drinks work, by the way. was in Pierre for 24 hours, and then I got up at 5:30 on Sunday morning, drove back, and had to work yesterday. So 15 hours in the car and 24 hours in Pierre. So the weekend was just gone. I didn't get anything done here. Kind of throws you off, right? Because your weekend, you got to kind of, reset everything and do laundry and put stuff away and take care of the yard and all that. I haven't had a chance to do all that, so I'm going to have to squeeze it all in this week.
My low is also out of Football Friday, but it was such a terrific game, and you did a great job on the sidelines, and the Ankeny Hawks and Dowling Catholic Maroons put on a great game for us, and everybody at Ankeny High School was so welcoming. The AD gave us a tour of everything. But my low did come from that because in the second half of the game, the press box lights were turned off.
Yeah.
And you can barely see Justin here if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or X or however you're watching Instagram.
I can't see him at all.
Justin. He's on your screen. He's to my right, but left on your screen. He's standing there. AD, do you have a photo of what it looked like in the first half? Like before the lights were turned off? Okay. All right. There's where we are. And because of construction and, Ankeny one thing at a time, they're improving all the stadium amenities there. They've got this great new dressing rooms, Andy, which you went in and you toured those. They're improving things a lot. But right now, we're squeezed into this little press box, just one room. And Frank, you can see Frank, he's sitting outside because there's not room for him in there. And Justin, to watch the game, he's leaning out of the door to look down on the field. And this is all going okay. And then the lights are turned off, and the coaches didn't want them back on. And the coaches are more important than we are. And I understand that. So Justin and I are trying to see these rosters because we don't have high school football rosters memorized. We know some of the key players, but it's difficult with everything we have going in our lives to know who they are. So it was like an eye strain test in the second half, and that was my low because I just wanted to be able to get those names right away and not have to hesitate. And from all your years of covering high school sports, how much it means to the relatives and the parents and the people in that town when their kid does something, they want to hear the name, they want to hear it pronounced correctly.
And then you mess up his name, and it's just like not the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's important.
we tried. All right, let's get the buzz.
The The Buzz. Brought to you by 𝗀liche Heating and Cooling.
I see somebody suggested Big Papa flashlight on the phone. We tried that, but that got to be distracting to other people. And if it's held behind you, we still couldn't see the field. But that's not the Buzz. The Buzz is the Hawkeyes.
You have to go back there this week too, right?
Yeah, we're going to bring a light this time.
Back on Friday.
An easy answer is bring a light.
Yeah.
If we just had a desktop light, but unfortunately with all that equipment we had, nobody had ever thought it's going to be
let's
pitch
bring a light
dark
too.
in the press box, because it's usually not, but it was there. All right, so trailing 0-2 Troy at the half, the Hawks do come back to win comfortably, 38-21. Iowa now 2-1 on the season. Let's go to the rewind. Second quarter, Troy's Devontae Ross continues to leave Hawkeye defenders in his wake.
Got a chance. Trying to get to the edge. He's got burner speed. Ross! Oh my goodness! Do you have enough in the gas tank? Yes! Touchdown, Troy!
That audio is courtesy of FS1. Andy, I know you were you had a somber day or busy. I don't know if you were able to hear the broadcast audio from this game.
A little bit. Yeah, we were watching it at a bar. I had a good seat in front of the TV, so I definitely could see the game well. But yeah, I mean, a little bit. You could hear it.
The guy, I don't know.
Mostly you could hear the Iowa fans around me groaning.
Right there, that return calls for excitement. But the guy doing this game, AD, maybe you know who his name is, and he was fine, but he does make Gus Johnson seem understated.
He does. And he gets excited all the time. Like I would be like looking down at my phone and hear yelling, and then I'd look up and it was like a 4-yard run. Be like, oh, okay, I guess it wasn't a huge play.
Right. But that was a 77-yard punt return. Devontae Ross, 3 long touchdowns. I need to look up if this guy has eligibility left, because if he does, somebody's bringing him a bag of money. Because man, he's a game breaker. And he gives Iowa that lead. You said you were with Hawkeye fans, Andy. They're watching. Same for Jenny and me. We were at Beaver Tap watching the game there, having lunch. There's Cade McNamara throwing without the laces, which is something that got brought up during the game. That is interesting. Anyway, I don't think the Hawkeye fans we were around were ever truly nervous that Iowa might not win this game, but it did not go as expected. Troy's not good this year.
Yeah, and you can kind of tell the difference between those two moods, right? I mean, it's not worry about the game, it's worry about the big picture, the rest of the season. You can feel their frustration that the team is not sharper at this point, that some of the things that they were concerned about in the Iowa State game, they still need to be concerned about now. Some things they haven't been concerned about in years, like the punting. Now they may need to be concerned about that. Certainly special teams are going to take a dip when you lose generational players like Tory Taylor and Cooper DeJean. But, I mean, they were so dependent on them for the past couple of years, and Tory Taylor longer than that. I mean, you're realizing now just how big a hit you're taking, and so you got to make it up somewhere else. And offensively, it just didn't seem like maybe they're going to be capable of that, or defensively, it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to absorb that type of a hit. So I think the Hawkeye fans were kind of watching this game and thinking, okay, this game is supposed to be like relief. Where you just like, all right, here we go. We got the Pistons firing again. But there were a number of reasons that made you think, when we get to the Big Ten, things are going to be rough, or could be rough.
Yeah, you're right. It was more the macro than the micro that Hawkeye fans were concentrating on. And to your point about that punt return, the one thing you can't do is line drive kick it to somebody like Devontae Ross. That's what happened, and he just took it to the house. So let's move ahead to the third quarter. Iowa brings in quarterback Brendan Sullivan for close red zone offense. And Sullivan, I believe it was his first Iowa pass, is a short touchdown.
Sullivan's in the gun. He's going to run left. And he pitches. Touchdown, Iowa. Little forward pitch to Addison Estringa, but we have a flag in the near corner of the end zone. Sullivan could have run for the touchdown.
Illegal substitution, defense, 12 players.
Touchdown, Iowa.
It's Gary Dolphin, and the audio is courtesy of Learfield. And that kind of woke the place up where we were watching, like just seeing Brendan Sullivan out there. People were
woke
glad
up social
to see
media.
It.
There's no doubt about that. Yeah, and everybody, whoa, wow, quarterback substitution.
Right. Didn't end up being permanent, but it did work. And then Jamari Harris provides the Hawkeyes some cushion.
Caldwell to throw on first down, has time, and it's picked off, intercepted at the 28-yard line. Jamari Harris at the 15, the 10, the 5, goal line.
Let's go.
Touchdown, Iowa. Touchdown. The crafty corner, Jamari Harris, puts Iowa in front by double digits.
Up 24-14, you can hear Gary Dolphin and Pat Angerer.
It's always tough.
Angerer.
Like Federer.
Or Dr. Michael Huffer.
Yeah.
From the
too
Man
many
with Two
ERs.
Brains.
Yeah, they needed to cut one of those off years ago.
So that 10 points now. It's starting to get a little bit easier. Fourth quarter, the nation's leading rusher, Caleb Johnson, puts it on ice.
And here's a run breaking through, heading for pay dirt. Touchdown, Caleb Johnson. Touchdown, Iowa. Touchdown, Hawkeyes. They answer the big score a moment ago of Troy.
So I made it, 31-21, 38-21 is the final. 173 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns for Caleb Johnson, who just could not be off to a better start. He's been great. And the offensive line is blocked well.
Yeah, I mean, they look like they'll be able to run the ball better than last year. Maybe.
I think so.
He looks like, I think, far and away the biggest bright spot on this team so far. But I don't know. I mean, how do you feel coming away from that game? I mean, what did you get out of that? You got some relief a little bit. You got a reminder that you got a good running back. But I think you got more reminders that, you got a quarterback that has trouble throwing the ball down the field.
Right.
But you got special teams that suddenly are not a lock. You have a defense that's given up big plays and is not a lock anymore. So I don't know. Do you take more positive or negative away from that game? I mean, it probably depends on what kind of person you are. But here's what I take away. And, Sears brought this up last night on Sound Off. We've hit it a couple of times so far on Sound Off. You just don't really know at this point, because you get another opponent that the Hawkeyes should never play, let alone this deep into the season. You're supposed to blow this team out. And if you do blow the team out, then you don't get a test from them, and you still don't know a whole lot about your team. But this ramp up to the regular season, to like the real part of the regular season, with the exception of the Iowa State game, certainly. But this ramp up is way too long. It's a month long.
And
we still don't know what kind of team this is. Yeah, it is. Yeah, coming out of a rivalry game, you're just like, okay, that's even that game, you're like, okay, that's a rivalry game, so it's just different. Everybody feels differently. They play differently about it. They coach differently. It's just different. So a month into the season we will be when we get to the Minnesota game, and I think Iowa fans are still like, I don't know.
Right, right. And Kirk Ferentz said after the game, he's like, I don't usually put a lot into this, but I didn't really like our pregame warm-ups. Well, I can help you with that, because the team felt the way that fans felt. They were having trouble getting up for this game because they just played Iowa State in this electric atmosphere in a game that came down to the final series, and everything about it was the best of college football. And then you turn on this picture perfect day, but it's Troy. And of course the team is going to have trouble focusing and being completely engaged in that game, because it was the same if you were in a sports bar around here, which we were. The fans before the game were like, yeah, Troy. I don't know what's their nickname. I mean, that's just the way it is. That is what John was talking about last night. To your point on McNamara, 19 of 23, 126 yards. That's accuracy. 9 consecutive completions. That's accuracy. Yeah. But most of these passes are really short and in the flat, and he missed some reads. He missed a wide open touchdown pass to 𝗙cie at one point. I mean, it was there. And he's not throwing the ball downfield. This is a horizontal passing game. It's not a vertical passing game. So I'm not sure I can recall anyone having stats like this. No picks, 19 of 23, nine consecutive completions, and had more people thinking, I don't know what we have, but I'd be okay if we went to the backup and see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, look, if that's Brock Purdy and the 49ers and you've got these guys that can run after the catch forever, great. That's fine. You can be a quarterback like that, but I was not like that. They need to be able to stretch the defense out because at this point, I mean, going into the Big Ten season, I mean, they look pretty easy to defend, at least easy to decide how you're going to try to defend them.
We'll see. The Hawks had 462 yards of offense, 284 rushing yards. So there are some positive signs there, but the defense and special teams, the usual old reliables, are causing some stress for fans. The Quickie Poll is presented by 𝗀cie Pools and Spas. What do we have today, AD?
Hawkeye fans at 2-1, and with conference play about to start, which on-field unit concerns you most? Is it that defense, still the offense, or special teams?
All right, what about you, AD? I can see the results coming in here with nearly 600 votes, and 57% say it's the offense. In some ways, I actually think the offense is better than I expected at this point, especially the running game and some of the run blocking, and Johnson is leading the nation in rushing. I think I might vote defense on this because I'm just not used to seeing Iowa give up big plays. Special teams, too, a long punt return. What about you?
I have more faith in Phil Parker and LeVar Woods to figure this out quickly than I do in the Iowa offense right now. So it still is the offense for me. And yeah, it's one of those things where you almost have to check yourself. And during Instant Iowa with Chris Hassel after the game and really ever since then, you throw those stats, Cade McNamara's stats and Iowa's rushing stats and all of that at you, and you say, well, there's nothing broken with this offense, but you watch the game and you can see that's clearly not the case. It's not as dynamic. It's not as vertical as you need it to be. And if the defense and special teams are going to take even a small step back, you're going to need the offense to take a big leap forward in order to have the success you've kind of come to expect as Iowa. And so to me, it is still the offense. I'm really glad to see that they put Brendan Sullivan in there in that 1st and 10, 1st and goal package. And it feels like that's a thing that's going to continue, mostly because the first time it happened, it was cool. The second time it happened, it was right after McNamara had completed that long pass to 𝗀cie, which was probably McNamara's best throw of the day. And he came out. And so if this was one of those things where they weren't quite sure what they were doing, I think they would have left McNamara in. This is, Kirk Ferentz is rigid, right? He makes decisions. They've made a decision that Brendan Sullivan is their 1st and goal quarterback. And I like that. I think that provides a different aspect. And maybe it does provide him some more access to the offense in between the 20s. But so I don't hate everything about the offense. I'm not saying it's terrible. It's certainly better than it has been in the years past. But I have more faith that Phil Parker and LeVar Woods can kind of get these other units figured out. I don't think I was going to be giving up 65-yard touchdowns game in and game out. Now, I may be wrong, and if so, obviously that'll be the biggest issue. But right now, I need to see more out of this offense to feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those situations where just the offense has such precedent here at Iowa that they're going to be the champ of this kind of poll until they're not, right?
Yeah.
Until they're knocked off again. And the defense is going to get the benefit of the doubt until they don't. And I mean, I think Phil Parker's defense has to have a really, really bad extended streak in order for people to be honestly worried about them at this point. I think everybody can be like, okay, maybe they're not as good as last year, but they're still not going to be worried about them. It's just such a good scheme, and he's so good. But again, we are just guessing at this point. We just don't know until, boom, they run headlong into an unbelievably important Big Ten game this coming weekend.
Boy, that's coming fast. You are watching or listening to Murph and Andy, presented by BMW of Des Moines and Ramsey Subaru here on Iowa Everywhere. The Cyclones that was kind of I think it was good timing for the Cyclones, but it's just an odd thing to have all that momentum and excitement coming out of that dramatic win at Kinnick Stadium and then bye week. So that you come out of the bye, and now you come out of the bye and you play Arkansas State. Again, back to the what are we doing with these we know what we're doing with these kind of games, but they're just not what most fans want to see. Arkansas State played a down Michigan team within 10. Scores a little misleading, but Iowa State should have no problem with the Red Wolves.
Well, they shouldn't. And if the question is, what does no problem mean? Does it mean 38-0, or does it mean 24-14 and the game was never really in doubt? I mean,
means a win in advance. And Iowa State, by the way, moves up in the poll without playing up to number 20 now. They're in the top 20.
I think they could win this game and still worry their fans.
Well, we just saw it happen with Iowa.
Yeah, it's the problem with these games. And it's after the bye week, after the most hyped up game of the season, you have this game. This country has an obsession with ramps up. This is going to be a What's Bugging Andy real soon here, where we just love to slow walk to the big event, right? We know how excited you are, and so therefore
it's a long ramp.
We're going to make you wait longer. They love doing that. I mean, this country is obsessed with that. We do that from sports to politics to TV to, everything. You got to tease it, right? You got to milk it for a little bit more. You got to, before we give people what they really want, let's see if we can get a little more of their money and make them wait.
Like the NFL preseason, this is still better than that. You still rather play Arkansas State than see an exhibition where the game counts. In street clothes.
The game counts. You do see the starters. But other than that, at least you're seeing the NFL uniforms and the other ones. Arkansas State's uniform, I don't even know what it is.
It's red.
I think.
It's a wolf.
I think so.
Yeah, they're running past.
And Iowa State's the Cyclones. There's no tornado on that thing.
Vikings moved to 2-0. We're talking NFL now with Sam Darnold at quarterback. He's been playing well. Vikings beat Brock Purdy and the 49ers for a second time in 2 years. Here's an interesting stat. The only NFC team Purdy has lost to in the regular season is the Vikings.
Yeah.
And it's been twice.
They're his kryptonite. Well, them and the Chiefs. But, that's the Niners' kryptonite, I think, at this point. But, yeah, that was I think there were some Brock Purdy fans who went up to that game thinking that they were going to come away feeling a lot better than they did.
Here's how it got going for the Vikings. Big highlight. It's Paul Allen on Vikings Radio Network.
9 for the Vikings from their own parade. Darnold under center. Play action to Jones. Throw it at the pass. Bosa picked up. He shot Jefferson. Yeah!
It's so loud you can't even hear Paul.
Can't hear it. I can't see it. Thank God I've already seen the play.
Andy, where is, many people asking, the root beer, the stevia, Zevia, whatever it's called.
I made a promise not to drink that anymore.
Who'd you promise?
Who'd you think?
Okay, and now let's move right along here. Here's some fun with audio. It's Miss USA, Miss Universe, Brooke Lee, with an honest answer.
Final question. If there were no rules in your life for one day and you could be outrageous, what would you do?
I would eat everything in the world. You do not understand. I would eat everything twice.
Thank you, Miss USA.
I would eat everything. I'd eat everything in the world.
Poor girl is just starving up there.
Just up there hungry.
Starving herself.
Just looks beautiful and just would give anything for a sandwich.
Been drinking tuna water for 6 months.
Celery, smoking cigarettes, downing vodka water. What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah,
whatever it takes
starving.
to take your mind off
There's
appetite.
So many people watching that too are like, "Oh, I know what you mean."
This is pre-Ozempic, so she's just having to watch everything she eats. All right, Murph and Andy here. Caitlin Clark sets the WNBA rookie record for points, assists, and threes. Say that again. She has set the rookie records for points, assists, and threes. She sets the overall league record for assists in a season, and she will likely finish second all-time in threes made in one season, any player.
But what about turnovers?
Turnovers, she leads the league. She's got much better.
Yeah, well, you should have put that first.
Yeah. The turnovers are now used, and it's not transparent at all. It is the weapon of the hater at this point.
Well, but
when they go to the turnovers, like for instance, here are some of the NBA Hall of Famers who have led the league in turnovers for a season. Dr. J, Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, Charles Barkley, Steve Nash, Shaq, the all-time NBA turnovers leader, LeBron James. Yeah. How often do you hear about that? Yes, when
players
you have the ball,
that have the ball all the time. Yes.
Also, when you're Magic Johnson, or in the WNBA scale, Caitlin Clark, or a long time ago for those of us who are older, Pete Maravich, when you're attempting passes no one else would attempt, sometimes that leads to turnovers.
Yeah, and they don't all work. Yeah, well, I mean, those passes don't all work.
The amount of people last night that was their answer, like, where's the turnovers? It's pretty obvious because most of the other criticism has been taken away. I mean, she should be first team all WNBA.
Yeah. No question. But isn't it kind of fun though when you know you've got an argument one everybody knows, and there's still some bumpkin that wants to offer up the weak ass excuse, and you're just like, oh, thank you for doing that. It's basically they just set a target on the table and you get to, just shoot it straight down. Yeah, I mean, it's if she weren't leading the league in turnovers, it probably means that she wasn't taking enough chances with the ball, and that's one thing that great players do. I mean, they kind of expect the team and league around them to adapt to them. Mm-hmm. They don't really adapt to their team or adapt to the league. They do it the other way. And that, I mean, basically that means you're swimming upstream at times and there's going to be some mistakes, but the payoffs have been so big that I think it all just completely comes out in the wash, and you realize that, eventually she's going to cut down on all those, and she has.
Second half of the season, she's cut way down. She needs to cut down more. I mean, she knows that.
She may be nowhere near the top anymore, or she may always be in the top 3 just because she's constantly pushing herself to get more and more creative with the ball.
First half of the season, she was turning it over way too much. Now she still could stand a cut down, but it's gotten much better, as you'd expect after that break. It is time for Throwdowns here on Murph and Andy.
Throwdowns. It's Throwdowns, backed by Heartland Tire and Auto.
All right, let's throw it down. Murph, Deion Sanders left his starters in and was going for it on 4th down with just a couple of minutes left against Colorado State, and a blowout win for the Buffaloes. In an era where style points and margin of victory can actually matter, do you have a problem with teams playing to the whistle?
Oh, I would like to think I wouldn't do it, but I'm not going to crush Deion for this. It's an intense rivalry. There was a lot of smack talk last year. There's more this year. It's football, and at this point, it's basically professional football. If you don't like it, stop them.
Yeah, I think I go case by case here, and in this case, Deion has been under a lot of heat. This is a heated rivalry. This is, man, Colorado fans want to feel like they have their foot on the throats of Colorado State and they're never getting up again. And they wanted this badly. So this is a coach that has not been giving his fan base what they want. They've been
playing to the fans,
starting to feel like maybe definitely he's the wrong guy in many cases. And this was his salute to them, or his, favor to them, because none of them are complaining about it today. I can promise you that. The Buffaloes.
Andy, the Saints pounded the Cowboys yesterday. They are 2-0 and have scored the most points in the NFL. Are you a believer in the Saints?
Well, I'm a believer in that game yesterday. It was really, really convincing, but they played the Panthers in the game before that, and they're horrible. But, sometimes this happens in the NFL. You get a team that doesn't have a lot expected of it going into a season, and it just turns out they got a really good combination and good chemistry and good coaching, and they come out of nowhere. I mean, I remember when my St. Louis Rams did that, and it was, people doubted them until about week 10. But, at this point, we're 2 games into the season. It's too early, and they need to be tested more.
Not a believer if the question is Super Bowl contender. If it's my believer they're going to have a winning season, yes. But Derek Carr's a quarterback, and let's see what he can do and sustain over a 17-game schedule.
Murph, my kids always want cold lunch from home. It's like an every morning they ask for it. But I'm a hot lunch guy. I've always been a hot lunch guy.
You mean when they're going to school, that's what they want?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
they every morning they're, hey, can we bring home lunch? Can we bring cold lunch? And I say no. We eat hot lunch in this family. I've already paid for it. Growing up, Murph, were you a hot lunch kid or a cold lunch kid?
I was mostly a hot lunch kid, and I was excited to have it. I like the way the foods fit in the tray perfectly. Like Friday rectangle pizza. I would eat a slice right now, and a wave of nostalgia would come over me when I saw that pizza come out. The little cartons of milk that would come on the tray. I was a hot lunch guy, and the only time I had cold lunch is if I happened to have a new lunchbox that I wanted to show off because it had all the NFL teams on it or something. But that thermos that came in those lunchboxes, it always made the milk taste sour for some reason. I don't know what it was, but the thermoses didn't work well. The food ended up smelling like aluminum, and it was
that was steel, baby. That wasn't aluminum.
Steel.
That was good old steel. I had that lunchbox.
Like steel.
As a matter of fact,
like
I still have that lunchbox, and I need to add that to my background here. I need to bring that up.
You just right above the Brock jersey. There's just a
lunchbox. Yeah, just floating on the wall there. I don't know. I mean, it was really random at my house, and you could tell it was probably just because how my mom was feeling that morning. As we got our lunches together, I kind of did a little of both. I took my NFL lunchbox and had my bologna sandwich and stuff in there, but I also ate at school a lot, and I don't remember my mom really looking at the calendar and being like, well, today's pizza day. Wouldn't you rather have hot lunch? But I do remember that when I started school, white milk was 4 cents and chocolate was 5. And then I remember at some point it was a dime. I mean, when you could use one coin and buy something substantial, because I think lunch was 50 cents when I first started off. And I'm sure part of that or a lot of that was subsidized. But I mean, it was, I don't know. I mean, I like those. The ravioli was my favorite. Ravioli day. And my friends who didn't like it, they'd give it to me, and I just ate like a big, huge mound of ravioli.
Just ravioli everywhere.
Love those. Yeah.
I always liked hot lunch.
You guys can help me with this. Are NFL sheets and comforters still a thing? Because I would sleep in those now. That's how much I love those. Do kids still do that?
They exist. It just, but there's so much more. Like back then, at least when I was growing up, it was like you could do I had baseball sheets, and it was either that or just like regular old sheets. Now my kids, like my son has a Pokemon set. He's got a set of like Mario sheets. My daughter has princess sheets. And so there's just the market has been flooded.
I still have an Empire Strikes Back pillowcase somewhere.
I'm not surprised. I'm not
Use
surprised.
that.
All right, that is Throwdowns. Thank you to Heartland Tire and Auto. Confluence is the official beer of Murph and Andy, and I saw AD crack open a Confluence downtown throwdown
buddy.
during Instant Iowa after the game against Troy. And by the way, AD, congratulations to you and Chris Hassel and everybody at Iowa Everywhere. You have a hit. I was checking the numbers of people watching and listening to that. Wow. Nice
It's a fun
job.
show to do. And it's, we kind of had that, there's that gap in between when, like the quote unquote instant reaction podcast can be recorded and then uploaded. There's a gap for the radio stations on the network for the post game. And so we were like, if we can go immediately after the game or even in some cases, just before the game ends, we'll kind of carve out a little niche there for ourselves. And it's fun. And I've never worked with Hassel like that. Like I've never, he's so talented. I just know him as this crazy guy in the text group. And, he did some things for Murph and Andy, but that was a decade ago. So it's fun to kind of get the serious Chris Hassel and play off him a little bit. So, yeah, we're having fun with it.
Yeah, he's as talented as he is crazy. I mean, he
can act like a grown-up.
And that's saying something.
Yeah,
I know.
It is, yeah. Wildly talented.
It's a lot. All right, let's get some more here. Murph and Andy on a Monday.
But wait, there's more from Either Or Eatery and Patio.
It's brought to you by Either Or Eatery and Patio. Not the most decisive restaurant in the metro. We'll give you that. You can go fancy or casual. Lua beers or top shelf cocktails. Burgers or handmade pasta with heirloom vegetables, dining room, or their amazing patio. A full moon on Tuesday. That'd be tomorrow.
I think it's full moon on Monday, if I heard Simon LeBon right.
I think
that was a new moon
on Monday.
Okay, never mind. Sorry.
Yeah. Full moon on Tuesday will coincide with a partial lunar eclipse. It'll also be a supermoon because the moon will be at its closest point to Earth in its elliptical 27-day orbit. And this one has one of the great names of all the moons of the year. This is the Harvest Moon.
Harvest Moon is a good name. Was that a Neil Young album?
It's the best Neil Young album. One of the great albums of all time.
I'm really proud of myself. I'm going to walk tall today.
You know why they call it the Harvest Moon, Murph? Come on, man. Go 2 for 2 here.
Because sometimes the farmers would keep working into the night because of the extra light. Like Sandlot playing baseball under the fireworks?
Yeah, maybe that would. Yeah, it's at the very least, it's because it happens at the time the farmers are starting to bring in the harvest. But yeah, I bet you that's been used a few times. Get out there and get a little bit more work in the fields. I don't know. Maybe the moons have something to do with it. But we have had a rough 24 hours in Des Moines. Violent 24 last hours. 3 homicides yesterday and an officer involved killing this morning after a chase and a shootout with police. And we had been really cruising along with a pretty peaceful year in Des Moines. I think we had only had 8 murders, 8 homicides so far, and then we got 9, 10, and 11. And then I don't know if this one counts as a homicide. I suppose it doesn't count as a murder, but yeah, it's definitely a person being killed there. But just kind of a rough period there with our friend Paul Parizek having to appear on television many, many times.
Yeah, boy.
Can we shout out to him? Nobody does that better than he does. No one there has never been a better PIO than Paul.
He's the best I've ever seen. Yeah, he can speak in concise sound bites that tell you everything he's able to tell you. And he's great at his job.
You can also tell that Wingert really trusts him. Mm-hmm. So he'll be pretty stinking honest. I mean, he will tell you, I think you get more information out of him than you've gotten out of any Des Moines PIO up to this point that I've worked with. And probably as much as you'll get from really anybody else in that position in the country. He's just that good.
You know what it's like when you go in many places, you ask those questions, you get nothing. I mean, you get next to nothing. You
don't
get,
tell you
get
anything,
what's in the press release.
Or then you get somebody that just walks up and just treats you with contempt and, like you're out to get them and they can't trust you. And he's not like that at all. He has a good relationship here with the media. Jane's Addiction. One of my favorite bands of all time.
Perry Farrell, right?
Perry Farrell, Dave Navarro, the rest of those guys. They had a rough weekend. Did you guys see this video? Andrew, can we show this video?
Yeah.
YouTube? let us do that?
We'll figure it out.
I'll have to ask you too.
There was a fight, right?
Well,
On stage?
Yes, there was a fight over the weekend on stage, kind of, and Perry Farrell got all pissed off at Dave Navarro and I think the rest of the band because they were playing, not because they were playing too loud, but they were playing while he was trying to talk. So he was really mad, and he's a really fiery guy, 65 years old. So they're getting up there, and I think the rest of the band is in his late 50s. But he's a little older. But he gets really angry at one point and then just kind of goes after Dave Navarro.
This is something you'd see at a Greyhound bus station.
Yeah, so like the rest of the band is like holding him back, and the catch is that Perry Farrell is a state wrestling champion out of the state of New York. So a slightly built, not super tall guy, but really wiry and still ready to go.
Wrestlers are always
65.
ready to go. Like, don't mess with a wrestler.
Yeah, so it takes a lot more to subdue him than you think, and you can tell the band kind of. Dave Navarro is not in a hurry to take off his guitar at that point, but it's just a bad look. And they had gotten back together, and they had a bunch of sold out dates, and everybody's excited.
The heavy metal and really hard rock music, it is tougher to ease into the old age than, you know, R&B or yacht rock, that kind of stuff. I mean, that look there at the beginning, that's tough.
The look at the beginning, what are you talking about, his gray hair?
It's got a whole Halloween vibe to it or something. I don't know. It's a little scary looking.
Well, yeah, and Jane's Addiction they were such just kind of scoundrels, right? And that was what was great about them. And they were so funky and just to have a great edge, just a great balance between hard rock and funk and punk. And it was really, gosh, they were such a good band. But when they had said they were getting back together again, I was like, I don't know. I mean, it's tough. Those guys you can never really tell when the right time to say goodbye is. And it's like the moment I think they start wondering about it, it's probably too late.
I got talked back into doing something like a month later.
Nice. You guys know the show Hot Ones?
Oh, yeah.
On YouTube.
Fantastic premise for an out-of-the-box show. And
some episodes are incredible.
This guy's name is
O'Brien is awesome.
This guy's name is Sean Evans, and it's a good idea, but what makes it work is that this guy researches his subjects, his guests, prepares his interview as well as anybody in the world. I mean, the conversation that they're having while this guest is, trying to stomach these blazing hot chicken wings is so interesting that even if they don't have the props, it still works. Because this guy is so well prepared.
Yeah, and Andy, I think because they're in pain, that it disarms them into more natural answers.
Yeah,
because they're not really thinking about, okay, now what did my publicist say? How was I supposed to answer this? They're just thinking like, God
and they damn it, that's so hot. They're just in agony.
AD mentioned Conan O'Brien. If you haven't seen Maya Rudolph on Hot Ones, check that out because she just loses her profanity filter.
Because and they all do. Bill Burr's it's one long continuous F-bomb through the last like 2 bottles of hot sauce. Anyway, the show has gone so well. Last month's episodes featuring Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds scored 28 million viewers to this point. So it's going so well that Netflix is reportedly in talks with parent company BuzzFeed to air live versions of the series created specifically for Netflix. makes sense.
It does make
That's
sense. Yeah, I can see that working.
Yeah, I can
hit.
too. Meanwhile, last Sunday at church, an answer to the question, what happens when the sax guy has the Lord in his heart, but Wham's careless whisper on his mind, and maybe a little too much volume? The other guys are like,
down. Too much.
Saxed him off the stage. Prior to 2013, no state in the union had an adult obesity prevalence at or above 35%. A decade later, 23 states in America have hit and exceeded that threshold.
35%?
Yes. In total, 20% of Americans are now considered obese, with the highest proportions found in the Midwest and South.
Thanks, Wisconsin.
You've tried that before, AD, and I
Yeah,
think
that never
Iowa
works.
actually,
Yeah.
I think we rank ahead of Wisconsin.
Wisconsin is like the second thinnest.
Man.
In the Midwest. Minnesota, always the healthiest. 4 states have the honor of being the ones with an adult obesity prevalence of over 40%. Ooh. Obese is a body mass index 30% or greater, by the way. Murph, you want to take a swing at the 4 fattest states in America?
I do. I do want to take
Where are
a
you
swing.
going?
I'm going south. They're all from the SEC. Of this, I'm confident. I'm going Mississippi.
One is not from the SEC.
That one's West Virginia.
Yes. You play this game well.
All right, so West Virginia, Mississippi.
Yes.
Louisiana.
Yes. And?
Arkansas.
Wow.
Is that right?
That's a clean sweep. I thought you might go Alabama there, but yes, Arkansas. Jeez. West Virginia, Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Okay, let's try this. We're always looking for new segments. I don't know if this will work or not. You tell me if this is any good. The word of the week. It's asshole. Not asshole. It sounds like asshole. It's asshole.
It's like a take on masshole, which is somebody from Massachusetts that's kind of douchey or really douchey. This is asshole.
Yeah, but I think this applies, and anybody can understand this. You don't need to be from the Massachusetts area.
I like this idea, though, because I could have some new words to use. Like, I can see myself, a person who constantly asks for your advice, yet always does the opposite of what you told them. And I like this, Andy, because for one thing, I immediately can picture the asshole in my life.
Who is that?
I'm not going to say here. There's a lot of no. I'll tell you. I'll tell you when the show's over. Are you picturing a person?
Not anybody specifically, but I definitely know. I don't know that this is always the same person. It's like
I think I know who Murph's thinking. I won't say it though.
Thank you.
It's a person that'll be like, hey, first of all, it's got to be somebody that's constantly asking your advice or asking for advice or input, and they don't really want the input. I think maybe they're just trying to make you feel good for asking. So they're like, hey, boy, what do you recommend here? The chef's the special tonight or the burger? And then the waitress is like, oh, yeah, the chef special is great. It's very seasonal. We have these heirloom tomatoes that are only available right now. There's Iowa sweet corn with it. You can only get that once a year. And we have this, special Wagyu beef that's been shipped in from Japan. And it's the only time that you can get it. And the guy's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to have the burger. The person goes like to great lengths to like explain why they're making this choice or why they're giving you this opinion. And
Andy, do you have your phone with you? I just texted you your asshole.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yes. I think there's a difference. The asshole is somebody that does ask, right? They are like, hey, what do you think of this? I think the person that you're talking about is someone who truly needs advice. And you do step up and give this person advice. You're like, hey.
Oh, but they might not be asking.
They're not asking. Yeah, I think they need it. They should ask. They should ask. They should follow it is what they need to do. But they're like, boy, I don't know what to do this time. And you're like, okay, you remember what happened last time. I gave you advice and you did the opposite.
Right. Not this time. This time I'll
not
listen.
even me, or, everybody told you to do B and you did A.
Yep. You know what that's also called? One of your kids. You might not be to that age yet, but get them in the teen years and their 20s. Dad, what should I do? Here's what
I can hear
really
my dad's voice is in my head right now saying, that's you, Andy. That was you.
You were an asshole.
Yeah, he lists off 3 examples right off the top of his head.
AD, you joining me in thumbs up for the word of the week on Mondays?
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
If it's as good as asshole, because I'm using that today.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Yeah, slang terms that we kind of maybe break down, or maybe it's just some kind of word that we have seen re-enter the contemporary nomenclature. That's your more, everybody.
Speaking of more, from Either Or, got a nice text, or no, it wouldn't be a text. It would be a post. Used to be called a tweet on X, formerly Twitter. BJ Dreyer writes, stop by Either Or on our way to Ames for the Iowa State Choir concert this evening. Thanks for the recommendation. This place is awesome. And BJ sent a photo of being out on the patio on a beautiful day and enjoying Either Or. So thank you for that. We love to hear that kind of feedback because that's how we do all this. We have these local sponsors and companies and people that help us do the show. So thanks for supporting that. That leads us to our sponsor shout out of the day, Ramsey Subaru, BMW of Des Moines. Saw Scott Long and his fiance Karen this weekend and had a great time with them. So thank you for being part of our show. We really appreciate it. All right, time for the Andrew Downs audio drop of the day. It's the AD squared. It's tough to follow up from a Friday on a Monday, but let's see what you have.
Yeah, it's powered by Game Day Men's Health, another great local sponsor. Check them out, West Des Moines, Ankeny, North Liberty over in Eastern Iowa. I'm excited to work with Game Day Men's Health as I work through my health a little bit here. Speaking of game day, ESPN's College Game Day has had some up and down years. And last year or a couple of years ago when they added Pat McAfee, I was skeptical. I didn't think it was going to work. But I got to say, man, his energy has brought a lot to that show. It's been fantastic. And that was really on display as the team was in South Carolina for the game against LSU on Saturday morning.
There's one notion you need to understand. We love cocks here. We love cocks around here. This is our big spur, the cock of the walk around here. And if you say, game, 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 you can get all you can cock for around this town. And it is an absolute honor to be in Columbia, South Carolina. And this is one of the only towns and schools in the history of television where you can just get away with saying, I've been the mayor of Cocktown around here. I love this place.
Nick Saban just over there slightly uncomfortable the whole time.
That's some of the most fun is like there'll be like when they're not on camera and McAfee's like dancing and Nick Saban just looks rigid as all can be.
What are you doing,
He's
Pat?
made everybody at ESPN very uncomfortable, repeatedly.
And making money, very wealthy too. We have quickie poll results presented by 𝗀cie Pools and Spas. It's what concerns fans the most.
Yeah, Hawkeye fans at 2-1 with conference play about to start. Which on-field unit concerns you most? Defense, offense, special teams? So this hasn't changed since the beginning of the show. The offense still with a healthy lead over the defense. Special teams trailing way behind at that point. I think this is just kind of one of those situations where until the offense is not the biggest worry, it's going to be the biggest worry, right?
And
I mean, they're just fans are too gun shy.
Shows you what kind of concern
Respect.
there is for there to be 37% concern about the defense.
Yeah.
But that's just how good the defense has been and how high the expectations were.
Respect for Phil Parker.
We'll know a lot more because that game is Saturday night. That's on WHO 13 in primetime. It's the NBC Saturday night Big Ten game of the week. Iowa and Minnesota.
Chris Hassel calling it a must-win. You in on that?
Well,
Andrew?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to have what you consider a successful season, especially because that Ohio State game is waiting right after the bye, you can't start 0-2 in the Big Ten, 2-3 on the season. Exactly. Yeah. It can start to unravel quickly. There's a lot of reason to go up there and have a lot of gas in the tank after what happened last year and everything. That's a rivalry game. We don't think Kirk Ferentz thinks much of PJ Fleck, and so there's a little extra juice on that as well. It's
the way Iowa lost last
game.
year.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
That punt return.
Yep.
Yeah, we realize World War II was a must-win, but still, it feels like Iowa has to.
Man, don't bring that to the party.
I just brought it.
A big stink bomb.
It's Monday. It's Monday. I have a day off from television today, so I'm gonna head over to Either Or and enjoy that patio. Andy, you look good. Nice new glasses. Those look sharp.
They worked a little bit better.
Well,
I think
you look good.
I think I may need a stronger pair even still.
Wow.
To read the
Okay.
computer
We'll get you a
screen.
stronger
Yeah.
pair. Thank you for being part of Murph and Andy. You can help us. Sorry to hit the microphone there. By leaving a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you get your podcast, please like and subscribe through Iowa Everywhere. You can use the Iowa Everywhere search term. Invite friends to join the party. All kinds of products, including the wildly popular Two Guys at Iowa Everywhere. Invite your friends to join the party. That helps all of us. We hope you'll join us Wednesday for an all-new live Murph and Andy. And we'll be back then. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.